Right. As we have already discussed, like in the earlier decades of the 20th century, one of the key concern was to select vocabulary for language teaching and how many words. And similarly, then came the question of teaching grammar. When we think about, 1930s and 40s, grammar translation method naturally comes to our mind because it was one of the prevalent methods at that time. So in this topic, under the heading of regions of language curriculum design, we're going to see how grammar selection and gradation influenced some of the efforts towards a syllabus design. Right. So obviously, I mean, from 1920s to 50s, there was a kind of a pursuit going on. There was kind of effort going on to find out a systematic approach to teach vocabulary and then grammar. So grammar, obviously, when you think of teaching grammar, you can't teach the whole of grammar. So you have to make choices about what grammatical content to be included. Okay, so and in this regard, the applied linguists made attempts to find out basic structures, grammatical structures for language teaching. So these were grammar selection is basically the concept of grammar selection is linked to grammar gradation. I mean, the order of grammatical units from simple to difficult to complex, right? So we can't, ignore or overlook the significance of grammar selection in terms of syllabus design, because it influenced the earlier efforts towards appropriate syllabus for language teaching, right? So, what were the principles of grammar selection? That was the key question which really intrigued applied linguists. So, the principles of selection, grammar selection were applied to grammatical syllabuses, right? So, we've got the question, right? The main essence of this discussion is like what to be taught and in what order. I mean, the grammatical units, as I have already said, because it was not possible to teach every bit of grammar at that time. So there was the questions experienced by linguists in the 1930s, right? And we've got a concrete example, and in this regard, Wilkins explains how different structures, grammatical structures, were developed and used for language teaching, right? Wilkins is quoted in Jack Richards' book, Language Curriculum Design. Is like, if you look at the first example, may I use your telephone, please? So that was the basic structure, grammatical structure. Can I use or may I use your telephone, please? So there was the basic structure, but it was kind of transformed into various other structures. Let's have a look. Like, please let me use your telephone. Another. So, is it all right to use your telephone? If it's all right with you to use your telephone, am I allowed to use your telephone? Do you mind if I use your telephone? Do you mind me using your phone? Would you mind if I use your phone? You don't mind if I use your phone? I wonder if you have any objection to me using your phone. Would you permit me using your phone? Would you be so kind as you allowing me to use your phone. So we've got different, various structures, and these structures, grammatical structures, were chosen in respect to the relevant method. For example, if grammar was taught through grammar translation method, so obviously the use of can I use your phone was more favorable than some other structures shown here in this example, right? So you might be wondering the purpose of this example. Does it indicate that these structures were useful for language teaching? I would suggest some of the structures were not clear, because the items, for example, would you mind? I mean, it was sort of a bit complicated. So obviously, the structures were sort of influenced by teaching methods which were used then, and which was the focus of language teachers. So, and secondly, right, the use of finite be was very much prevalent. For example, this is a pen, very, very simple sentence. So it was thought to be a basic starting point of teaching grammar.